are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia, home to Emory University. And I want to bring into this conversation Carol Anderson, who's chair of Emory's African American Studies Department. Carol Anderson's book, White Rage, The Unspoken Truth of a Racial Divide, just won the National Book Critics Circle Award for Criticism. Jurors called it, quote, a searing critique of white America's systematic resistance to African-American advancement. Carol Anderson, from that picture I saw of you winning the award, you were rather surprised. But the power of your book has not been lost on anyone. In these last minutes we have together, can you talk about the significance of what's happening right now?
Yeah, what we're seeing right now is the penultimate in white rage. We had a black president. We had African Americans and Latinos coming out in scores, voting for the first time, participating in this democracy. And the response has been a legislative and judicial, given the Shelby County v. Holder decision by the Supreme Court gutting the Voting Rights Act, a response to, in fact, undermine and undercut that black advancement. What we now have is Donald Trump, because it is with voter suppression, given felony disfranchisement in Florida, given the chicanery in North Carolina, the chicanery in Wisconsin with all of the voter IDs back and forth, that in fact led to this very narrowed victory that put a white nationalist regime in power in the United States. And from there, you then get these policies, such as Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, who happened to greet Donald Trump surrounded by women in antebellum dresses, to give you a sense of what Make America Great Again means to them.
The Sessions Justice Department took down the civil rights page in the Justice Department and put up the standing up for law enforcement page.
Yes. And again, that is law and order. That is pure dog whistle from the Nixon years, from the Reagan years. And what that has led to has been the mass incarceration of African Americans and Latinos. What it has led to is the undermining of the Civil Rights Act of '64 and the Voting Rights Act of '65.
What do you say, Professor Anderson, to those? I mean, there are those who say that Donald Trump is an outright racist, white supremacist, white nationalist. There are others who say he's just speaking his mind. He tosses political correctness. What do you say?
I say that's a load of hooey. And what I mean by that is he started his campaign by getting the groundwork with the birtherism, which was sheer racism, demanding to see Obama's birth certificate. And then he launches his campaign by saying Mexicans are rapists and criminals. Now, what would have normally had led somebody to be distanced from that, where she's saying, no, we want no part of that. In fact, it drew that GOP base in to a depth of fervor where the latest polls have shown that what was driving his base was not all of this economic anxiety that pundits talked about, but was the increasing diversity of America. The fact that America was becoming more black and more brown. And so his white base said, we can't have that. We have got to somehow secure the power and the resources of the United States in our hands alone.
So how does this all... Your book came out before Donald Trump was inaugurated, yes. But it's called White Rage, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide.
Yes.
How does this presidency underscore what you have found?
It underscores it beautifully, because you see all of this masking in terms of language. So, for instance, let's take the health care bill that Trump pushed forward, that the one that just passed the House. When you begin to really look at it, it goes after women, it goes after the poor, and it goes after black people. It goes after those who are getting out of their place. But it's doing so in this really innocuous language of democracy, that this is going to bring about greater options and greater choice, when in fact what it's going to do is impoverish and sicken millions upon millions of Americans and have a massive transfer of wealth to the top 400 families under the guise of democracy. That's white rage.
I want to thank you so much for being with us. Professor Carol Anderson is chair of the African American Studies Department at Emory University, and she is author of the book, White Rage, the unspoken truth of our racial divide, which just won the National Book Critics Circle Award for Criticism. And that does it for our show. By the way, we have openings for a video news fellow and many internships. Check our websites. Apply immediately at democracynow.org. We're on our many-city Democracy Now! Covering the Movement's Changing America tour. I'll be speaking today at 2 p.m. at Carleton College in Minnesota and at 6:30 p.m. at Augsburg College in Minneapolis. Then on Saturday, we're on to Madison at 1:30 p.m. and in Chicago at 7 p.m. In Sunday, I'll be speaking in Michigan in 3 cities, in Kalamazoo at 11 a.m., in Lansing at 2 p.m., and in Grand Rapids at 5:30 p.m. On Monday night, I'll be speaking at the Philadelphia Free Library at 7:30. And then on Wednesday, May 10th, I'll be speaking at Seattle Town Hall in Washington. On Friday, May 12th, I'll be speaking at the New School in New York City. You can go to our website, check all the details at democracynow.org. Then we're on to Oregon and California. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Burke, Dina Guzder, Nermeen Sheikh, Carla Wills, Laura Gottesdiener, Sam Alkoff, John Hamilton, Ravi Karen, Hani Massoud, Sharina Nadura, and Andre Lewis. Special thanks to Dennis Moynihan, Mike DeFilippo, Miguel Noguera, and Paul Huckabee, our engineers. Thanks to Becca Staley and Julie Crosby. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.